Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Milton, Werner, President and CEO of Inhibikase Therapeutics, to discuss therapies designed to modify Parkinson's disease in the brain and GI tract, as well as technologies to improve the safety profile of oral kinase inhibitors used in cancer and non-cancer applications. Milton, it's great to meet with you. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Great. Thanks so much for having me today, Jill. Appreciate this.
You got it. And Milton, explain to the audience where Inhibikase fits in the biotech ecosystem.
Well, we see Inhibikase as really being a transformative company. I mean, we're a disruptor. We've really worked on the bleeding edge of science, discovered fundamental mechanisms of neurological diseases, and now we've developed molecules and we're in the clinic translating them to really work on behalf of patients. So I don't think there are a lot of companies that really approach the problem in this kind of comprehensive way at such a young step.
Let's start with the therapies being developed to treat Parkinson's disease. What are you working on there?
So our lead asset is a molecule we call IKT-14809. It's a small molecule oral Abelson tyrosine kinase, or c-Abl inhibitor. We discovered, along with our colleagues, that c-Abl plays a fundamental role in the disease process. You could look at it as a kind of checkpoint, thinking about some of the other therapies that have been developed in cancer. And what Abl does is that it acts as a way to sort of kill off neurons that contain an artificial or dysfunctional protein known as alpha-synuclein. And alpha-synuclein has been associated with Parkinson's disease for about 40 years. But until very recently, we didn't really understand what the relationship was between alpha-synuclein itself and what Abl does to protect neurons from the effects of alpha-synuclein. And so what 14809 is doing is essentially undoing all the deleterious effects of alpha-synuclein in the disease state. And we've seen in validated animal models where we have focused our attention prior to going into the clinic that we can actually reverse the functional loss, restore normal neuroanatomy, both in the brain and outside of the brain. And we think that's the first time that's ever been shown in any neurological disease.
So Milton, explain to us what makes these types of therapies unique.
Well, what's unique about them is sort of twofold. For one, we've never had an opportunity in major central nervous system or CNS disease to actually restore lost function. So that is unprecedented. And we believe we have the only drug substance that's ever shown that. But the cool thing about it is that we've been using Abl kinase or c-Abl inhibitors for cancer applications for the last 25 years to treat certain forms of cancer where Abl has been mutated, such as the molecule Gleevec, which is a very well-known anti-cancer agent. So the commercial cancer-related kinase inhibitors for Abl don't really treat in the brain, and so that's why they're not really competitive to our agent. What we had to do is both preserve the safety characteristics of molecules in this class, figure out how to get them to the brain, that's rather proprietary information for us, and then actually impact the disease course. And being able to do all three of those facets was very satisfying, because the fact that we've put these molecules into patients for so many years means a lot of the safety about this kind of treatment is already known. So if you will, the easy part has to get done. Does it work?
Inhibikase is also developing technologies to improve the safety profile of oral kinase inhibitors used in cancer and non-cancer applications. What's significant about that?
So, a lot of times people take oral kinase inhibitors, both in cancer and non-cancer applications, and they cause a lot of stomach upset. And they really wear people out. You take them every day, you're taking a pretty high dose for most of those applications, and you just start skipping doses. And when you start skipping doses, you stop getting benefit and you relapse your disease. And usually that relapse can be fatal. So we recognized early on that since we're working both in neurological diseases, in infectious diseases, and in cancer, that we had to cover a wide range of patients. And so we wanted to figure out what could we do chemically to cover up the part of the molecule that causes the GI problem, the problem in your gut. And we succeeded with that. We now have an agent that should enter the clinic this summer that's actually going to prove that in a very large market cancer application as a way of validating the whole technology. Then we can apply it to our novel molecules in neurological disease or an infectious disease, what have you. So it's going to open up a wide range of commercial applications long before we demonstrate that our molecules are actually effective for Parkinson's and related disorders.
And Milton, to wrap up here, your ability to advance Inhibikase on the basis of scientific peer review is significant. What does that suggest with how your peers view the company?
Yeah, so this was a really important facet for us. We recognize that if I were to come to an average investor or an average strategic company or a large pharma company and said, I'm going to treat basically healthy people for infections, or basically healthy people who have Parkinson disease with an anti-cancer agent, you know, they're going to look at me cockeyed and really wonder what it is that we're proposing to do. And so we knew right away that we had to approach the problem by both solving the fundamental science and then demonstrating to our peers that those solutions are really transformative. And so by funding the company the way we did in the preclinical setting, we really demonstrated to all of the scientific peers we've got that we really have made an advance in treatment. And so going into the clinic, we have a higher likelihood of success. That's proven to be very successful. Almost every key opinion leader in the Parkinson space works with our company directly because we all see the promise of this approach to therapy.
All right, Milton, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Very appreciated, Jill. Good to talk with you.